Take a little coffee. Want coffee?
No water.
Water? He's good. I don't think it's decaf, I heard.
Asphalt associates.
But still, only the 2-inch.
Okay, I'm calling the meeting back to order. We were in closed session earlier today, and this is the date and time scheduled for the regular board meeting of the School District of Amery. Looks like we have a spotlight on education, which we'll start with, and that is Myron Marco.
You guys want the donuts now, or?
I'd like to just introduce Myron Marco. We've asked him to come to the board meeting, so if you want to bring them up here, Mr. Marco. You've heard of Holy Donuts in Amery, probably, and around graduation time.
I can come around with you guys.
Yeah, that would be great. If you could just tell us a little bit about the business, how it started, and what you do, and how many employees you have.
Yeah, so I started about 2 years ago here in Amery with Holy Donuts. It's mainly a mobile food truck kind of a thing, so I don't have a storefront yet or a bakery. But I have 2 mobile trailers that I drive around to fairs, festivals, birthday parties, graduations, all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I started it 2 years ago, so it's relatively new, but Amery's been a great place to start a business. I have quite a few events in Amery. I've been on Music on the River, I'm at Fall Fest, and Play at the Parade. I think those are all my Amery events. So yeah, you guys have any questions about it?
How did you come up with this idea?
Myron, could we have you step up to the mic? Then you could just set it down. They can, or pass it around. They can pass it. But if you step to the mic, then everybody can hear.
Yeah, my parents were going to make me get a job. Yeah, I did, yeah. And I was planning to apply at Dick's Market. I actually still have the application under my bed. And I didn't want to do a normal job. I thought I could make more money doing something else and pay for college. So I kind of started brainstorming, and I liked making donuts at the time. And my dad had purchased a trailer, which he was going to turn into a mobile deer hunting shack. I had different plans. I turned it into a donut shack, and it kind of blew up from there because people enjoy the donuts, and I saw the potential. So yeah.
I've seen you the last couple of years at the Chili Feed and at other events around town. I actually heard from someone, too, that you were just at the Ellsworth community. What event was that?
Yeah, the Cheese Curd Festival was our biggest event yet. It was last weekend, so it was kind of weird frying these donuts again after frying thousands of them last weekend, or this previous weekend. So that's in Ellsworth. They celebrate their cheese curd creamery there with the big festival, kind of like Fall Fest or Junebug Days, all those other ones I go to, but Ellsworth has by far the largest one due to their cheese curds, and they have a marketing grant from, I think, the Department of Tourism, so that's what kind of blew it up. They got $20,000, $30,000 to promote it, so people come from the cities, and yeah, it was a huge event. It was great.
Were you a donut maker before? How did you get into making donuts?
I've always liked donuts, so I didn't make them necessarily, but I used to go with my mom to work, so we didn't have to get a babysitter. And on the way there, we'd stop at a bakery and get donuts. So that's kind of where my love for donuts started. And then I found a donut maker in a basement of one of our rental houses. We had a rental house because my dad worked there, and then he moved somewhere else. So we just rented it out, and there was a donut maker. So I made donuts for maybe a month. And then it was the same timing where I had to get a job and the trailer, so it was like the perfect storm, kind of. So I'm not really an expert on it yet, but I've made quite a few donuts now. Yeah.
Cool. And so do you have future plans, or how does this play into your life right now with school?
Yeah. I'm going to be going to River Falls for business administration, which is a shock. And hopefully it'll keep going, I think. My parents are moving to Ellsworth, so it'll be close there, so I can keep the trailers and do events at the same time. And for sure pay off college. That's kind of my #1 goal with the business, and that's how it originated. But we'll see if it could turn into something more full-time. My plan is to do as many events as I can right now, then narrow it down to the best events and have a better schedule. So
I know that River Falls has something they call River Falls Days?
Yeah,
Summer?
my sister was just talking about that at the Cheese Curd Festival. She's like, you should try and get into that since you're going to college there. So I'm going to definitely look into that. I go onto the campus at River Falls to sell donuts. For the past 2 years, I'd skip school to do it. So it was worth it.
You had a parent excuse day, right?
You graduated. I graduated. Yeah.
Mr. Derfler, I'm sure that was a parent excuse day.
It was very,
Right.
yeah.
So, Myron, do you also, I think you had mentioned you have more than one?
Yep. So I started off with the hunting shack, then turned into donut trailer. It was actually a farm cattle trailer that we cleaned out completely. It's a little known fact, so you guys are in on it. Cleaned it out, got it inspected, passed the tiny trailer, and once I realized at Fall Fest that we couldn't fit more than 3 people in there without being claustrophobic, I got a second trailer, which I use at bigger events like the Cheese Curd Festival, so I can handle more people.
How many employees do you have?
I don't really have full-time employees necessarily because it's kind of a concessions thing and you don't really hire people like that, but I'd say I've had 25, 30 people work for me before, and 10 or 15 of them are pretty regular, so yeah.
How many different flavors do you have?
15 right now, but I guess if you added the cheese curd donuts at the Cheese Curd Festival, we'd had like 18, so we had to make, at the Cheese Curd Festival, 2 menu items that had cheese curds in them so people can, try all the cheese curd stuff. And we made 3, so that adds to 18.
Thank you for this great presentation.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Good luck.
Yeah.
If you want to leave any leftovers, I'll be
tonight.
sure that they're shared with staff.
That'd be midday, not end of day.
Okay, next we'll move on to the consent agenda items.
And I did those this month. I want to make a note, 4 checks were missing, 631, 32, 33, and 34 that I could not find in there, so just make a note with that, so we have to look for those. Other than that, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Is there anyone opposed? Or I'm sorry, is there any discussion?
I can just mention that I did talk with Stacy afterward, and she thinks that there were 4 checks that were, it was a check count thing when she ran them through. I don't know if you talked to Stacy about it, but yeah, it had to do with printing. So I don't know that they're necessarily missing, but it was a printing issue.
Okay, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, next we'll move on to community comments. Did anyone sign up for community comments? Okay. All right, now we're on to administrative reports. Start with Mr. Gupta.
Okay, we'll play that. I guess I'll start out this month, and then our administrators can go into. Yep. I just wanted to mention that we've got a lot of work going on at the school, and you may have seen this. There now have been over 2,400 views and over 250 positive reactions to the Bleacher video. Okay, it's just a 30-second video, and I want to thank Tracy Hendrickson for taking the video footage, putting together this nice short video that had, within an hour, there were 400 views and I think 190 positive reactions, and now there's been a whole lot more. So great to see those kind of great things happening in the district. Other administrative reports?
We're under a smaller construction project at the middle school, which we're really excited about. And if anyone's ever been at the middle school in the library, there's been this room they call the media room. And it was initially built so that you could have large groups of students sit in more of an auditorium type situation. It never really panned out that way. And when the building was built, there is like 4 small tiers, and the kids had to sit on the floor, and it just was never being used. It wasn't feasible and workable for the middle school kids, and the room was too small for a large whole class group anyway. So this year I started talking a little bit about what else could we use that room for and make it much more usable, and Greta McCarty worked with me, and George, and Jim, Kate Weissenbeck, and a group of us, and we just this last month they came in, Berghammer, and they removed the flooring and the steps that were in there and just put the new base floor, and we're going to be putting in some new paint and some different types of flooring, and then they took some and added some windows so that you can see into the room from the library, because it was really boxy in there, and really a simple thing, but I think it's going to make the room much, much nicer. So I want to appreciate Jim for approving that, and George for your work, and to the board for allowing us to do a really simple change to make something much more usable for our kids. You can talk PLC?
Cheryl is.
Okay. Then the other big thing right now is that we're just starting our 3rd week of summer school, and we have kids of all different ages going to summer school, and majority of them right now are being housed at the middle school and the intermediate due to the elementary construction. But so we're in full swing there.
I will probably just jump right in on that. As you know, the summer school for the small students through 4th grade, is that? And you have 5th grade at your building? Yes. Are at the intermediate school for the first time, and also daycare and clubhouse because of the construction at Leon, or the remodel, and it went fabulous. Nina, the director, said that George and the custodians had it all ready to go, and the transition on Monday morning after school let out was fabulous, so it's all working very well. So I'd like to report that back.
I'm going to report on the PLC Summer Institute we attended last week from Monday through Wednesday. This is our 3rd year of participating in PLCs. The first year it was just the administrative team, and we were very excited about what we learned there and the importance of establishing PLCs within a learning community. So last year we took 17 people, and this year we took 21 people. And it's amazing to all of us the excitement that we see with our teachers when they attend the Professional Learning Community Conference. It's a national conference, so it's phenomenal. And it's like it's an aha moment. The light bulb goes on. They understand why we're doing what we're doing within all 4 buildings. It was excellent, and I just want to thank you for supporting a national conference for our staff to attend. It's making a difference in what we do, the business that we do in the school district. I'm not sure, are you going to talk about the remodel at the elementary school? Okay, then I'm not. It's pretty cool, though.
I just have something quick to report. This is my last board meeting, so thank you all very much. It's been a wonderful 23 years. I had the opportunity to work with Brad Baumgartner last week. He was in the whole week. It was really, I think, a very useful time to have that opportunity to show him different aspects, and I think you're very lucky to have him. So.
Okay, I have 2 items. If you have seen the social media post from Tracy Henriksen, U.S. News and World Report recognizes high schools across the country every year in the month of May. And Amery High School was recognized as a bronze level recognition school. What that means is there are 27,500 high schools in the country. About 5,000 are recognized. Of all high schools in the country, about 5% achieved the gold status, about 10% silver and about 10% bronze, and the rest are no recognition at all. So that puts us inherently in the top 25% of high schools in the country. It puts us by place rank 102nd out of 494. It puts us in the top 20% of Wisconsin high schools, and Wisconsin was 11th out of 50 states, so Wisconsin does well to begin with. That would put us 3rd in the Middle Border Conference and 9th in the CISA. We do well as a CISA. So we're very proud of being recognized by U.S. News and World Report, and further, we're very thankful for the preparation that our students have well prior to high school, from K through 8, from students, from parents, from staff, because it doesn't happen when you just get to the high school. So that I wanted to make sure you knew, and I don't want to be long-winded, but I want to recognize the FFA's accomplishments. They competed in state competition here very recently. Some of the highlights of that competition: Dylan Clausen was first place in prepared speaking. This is the first ever state championship in this area. First place was Deirdre Meyer, Courtney Glenna, Sam Kelling, Caitlin Peterson, Emma Johnson in the junior high school quiz bowl, first ever state championship in that area. Hannah Elmer, Lucy Curtis, Jonathan Lorsong, Katie Elwood, Juliana Graff, Courtney Glenna, Deirdre Meyer, and Michaela Zeza. Conduct of meetings contest, state champs 2 years in a row, 2 different teams. First place for Haley Clausen, Nick Erickson, Allison Ullman, Ellie Miller in senior high school quiz bowl, 4th state championship in this area. Second place for Haley Clausen in job interview. Third place for Nick Erickson, Haley Clausen, Ellie Miller, Allison Ullman, Olivia Braden, Andrew Prindle, Jackson Mahoney, and Annika Schwartz in Parley Pro. A 4th place finish for Lucy Curtis in Creed speaking, and a top 10 for Ellie Miller in extemporaneous speaking. Recognized for honors FFA band is Michaela Erickson. Thomas Christensen received a state FFA degree. Drew and Deanna Meyer were Amery FFA delegates. And lastly, can't do FFA unless you mention a Dado. Micah Dado was our 10th state officer in the last 14 years and the 24th in Amery's history. So FFA represented and represented well. Off to national competition, so more to follow. I'm sure we'll do well there as well. So congratulations to the Amery FFA and their leadership, not just Mr. Meyer, but all the folks that are associated with FFA, because that's a very wide network of folks that are helping. So congratulations.
Just wanted to note on that, Tom, that there was a couple of high school kids that really helped out those middle school kids with the quiz bowl. So for them being mentors to the younger kids, hats off to them to step up and help out the younger ones coming up. So it's another great thing that the high school kids do.
Mm-hmm. It is.
All right. Thanks. Erin, you're on the list. You attended the CISA 11 annual convention.
Yes, I did. I attended that the beginning of this month on, I believe it was June 2nd, 4th, I can't remember. The first Monday in June, and so that was interesting to learn a little bit more about CISA 11 and their role. And part of the purpose of the evening was to elect members to the Board of Control for CISA 11, and I tried to stay out of that, but someone had resigned from their position, and Amery was next on the list to take the position, to be on the Board of Control, so I'm now on the Board of Control of CISA for the next, for the next 3 years, or unless it belongs to the district, so if for any reason I do not, can't continue, then it would come to other members of the Amery board. But yeah, so then right after I attended my first meeting as a CISA board member, and so that was also very interesting, and learned a little bit more about that.
All right, well, congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. Another board meeting every month.
Okay, then Keith and I and Mr. Kupta, as well as other building and grounds staff, attended a meeting. I think it was on Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Did you want to cover that?
Well, I don't know, George. You want to fire up?
I brought my notes.
We went over some fiscal year-end spending from the fund balance that is left over. Designated that to a few areas that needed to be shored up. Looked at some bids for parking lot asphalts. Then we went and toured some of the projects that I'm not going to take the limelight from George. He's got, it looks like he's got a PowerPoint here.
Yeah.
No, that's for another section.
Okay. Oh, you know, they're doing
well.
They're doing a lot of stuff at the elementary school. Going to give it a new facelift there, ceiling tiles, from removing lockers to new flooring in the gymnasium. I don't know, but your office stays the same, sure. There's nothing new there. The entry is going to get all redone. Then we moved over to the middle school, which Tom has already done with the room there. After I did my board vouchers, I went and looked at the goose fence that was erected along the water down there, and hopefully that's going to be that was already budgeted last year, so that hopefully will help reduce some of our goose problems there. Anything else did we look at? I think that was about it.
School, elementary school.
We talked about the asphalt and
Yeah.
a couple different bids, and Keith had brought up a good point that there were different depths that were submitted in the bid, so Tom and Bill went back to the other company and got a bid. So we're doing a 3, not 2 inch. We got comparable bids, and it turns out that Monarch has a better price than what we initially thought was Asphalt Associates had a better price. So we won't talk about the dollar amount specifically because they're bids that the companies gave, but it's a significant investment that we're making into the middle school front parking lot, high school north parking lot, high school front also, Tom? West side of the front of the high school, and we'll have all that work done as part of our referendum expenditures and end of the year payouts this year.
Well, that's going to be next year's budget.
Correct. So
parking lots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because they like to have that done in the fiscal year that it happens. So we want to make sure that we keep the auditors happy and do the projects that are due at the time frame that we have.
So the parking lots will be out of next year's budget?
Yeah.
Is that right?
But they'll be done.
Yeah.
They'll be completed this summer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the email, part of the money, we're going to put 100,000. I guess we should vote on that. I don't know that we had the authority to do that. We just suggested that we put 100,000 into our fund balance. As Lisa Boyson from Baird has suggested that we can, with our increase in school funding, we should build that fund up a little bit and try and get our percentage off of well, we're at 15 or 16, and it's, you know, it would be nice to be a little bit higher there.
Yeah, and she recommended that this is the year we do it because the percent that we would lose in state funding is at an all-time low of like, what, 7.5% per 100,000? So we really would not be losing that much by putting that money in. It's kind of look at it in a cost-benefit analysis, and putting that money in is a good move for not very much penalty.
So it wasn't the 51% that we were scheduled
No.
to lose?
Yeah, it's actually the tertiary level, which is the third level of funding. We are funded at nearly 52%, but the loss due to the additional state aid this year would be about 7.5%, just the tertiary aid. So once we discovered that, then we shared and discussed that information. I'd sent that to an email, the information to the board.
And I guess what you mentioned, I don't know if we did have the authority to make that decision, so I will make a motion that we put $100,000 into the general fund this year.
Fund balance.
Fund balance, sorry.
Yep. I'll second that.
Does anyone have any discussion or further questions before we vote on that? All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else on the building and grounds that we want to talk about, George? All right. There's my agenda.
The new lockers, you will be able to fit somebody inside in the elementary school. That's going to be a problem.
Actually, Keith, they found a way to fit inside
I
the
know.
skinny ones.
You gotta push hard.
I
You'll
hate
get 'em
to
in
tell you.
there.
Get 'em
It's
in.
really hard when you have to grease somebody's head to pull them out.
Yeah. I am.
Yeah. So just saying, Cheryl's removal will be easier now?
It will be a lot easier.
Now we'll move on to informational items. The first item on this list is the donation to the Angel Fund, presented by the Birch Street ATV Club.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Kyle Warner and Dave Curtis, who are here from Birch Street ATV Club. Kyle contacted me a few months back and asked if it would be okay if their ATV club would raise some funds for some needs at the school. And I said, well, we've got this Angel Fund that purchases things for students as they're needed: gloves, mittens, clothes, various items that are paid for that our principals are in charge of. So, gentlemen?
Okay, we started an ATV club
About a
several
couple months ago. Yep.
And the club members wanted to run a fundraiser
for a charity in town. We, as I said, we contacted Jim, and at first we were thinking backpack for kids, but it was more not as local, and that's when we found out. He explained this. We never heard of the Angel Fund, and we thought that was a great idea. And all the towns that were involved in it were really all for it. They were really excited to help with the charity and stuff, and we had 50 to 60 plus people that actually came to the first event, which I thought was great. Didn't know what would happen.
Yeah, June 9th we had that.
Yeah, and so we're hoping that we can keep doing stuff like this for years to come and raise more money for you guys and local charities in town. It's kind of a fun thing to do, and it's fun for everybody that came, so we had a good time. And then people, if they want to start actually join the club, they can contact Birch Street Bar or actually, I think, Jim, are you going to put a little article in the paper? We probably can put my contact in there.
We'll get
So it'd probably be
information.
easier to contact me direct versus trying to call local establishment people who everyone know. Not everybody that's working there will know about it. But we're glad to raise this money. It was $650, which was good, I thought, for a first turnout.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should have them step forward.
Yeah, I was
You're
gonna say,
catching
it
the
looks
light
kind of
there.
funny
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah, that was my sunglasses on?
No, it was right here. It was actually
On the forehead.
Forehead.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now for George's report, the maintenance and building report.
So I'm glad Mrs. Meyer didn't make a comment on the elementary school, because if Mr. Benson calls 25 feet of block wall that's removed in 3 days of jackhammer in a simple process, I don't know what she would have called
That's
it.
because I wasn't doing the jackhammering.
So, anyway, good evening, members of the board. This will be painless and quick. I'd just like to mention a few things that have happened throughout the year, and then go into a few pictures of what we currently have going on. During the year, just to list a few of the things that we do around here. There's just a vast amount of equipment that needs to be either replaced, repaired, or some preventive maintenance that we perform on it. Just a couple weeks ago, we replaced the server room rooftop unit. We went from about 3 tons of cooling to 6 tons, and we're actually now able to maintain the temperature that we're looking at. The end of school, we were struggling to keep 78 degrees in there. And with these new servers, they've got internal fans that try to cool themselves, and they can be quite noisy. So with the classroom right next door, we had to do something. But we're very pleased Countryside put that in. They did a great job. We worked on at least 12 heat pumps in Tom's building, replacing failed compressors, motors, capacitors, squirrel cages, you know it, you name it. We change 4 times a year, and I shouldn't say we collectively, the maintenance staff, the custodians get involved, change 550 filters 4 times a year. We work on 80 power roof ventilators, 65 heat pumps, 4 makeup air units, 20 rooftop units at the high school, 17 air handler units within 3 of the buildings, 84 fan coil units alone in the high school. Each room basically has its own little heating and cooling unit. A couple of chillers, 8 direct expansion AC units here at the intermediate school, 1 cooling tower, 25 boilers, and 8 walk-in refrigeration units, and a partridge in a pear tree. I'm trying to rattle through this. That's just to name a few things. Now we'll go into the fun stuff, and I promise to be quick again. I had 66 pictures, but I wasn't allowed to bring them all. I didn't think I'd have to talk at all, but I didn't get away with it. Last summer this was our big project, and it completed a little bit after the date that we would have liked, but for the most part it didn't interrupt anything, the start of school. There's a before, there's an after. So that was still in the 17-18 budget. Now, currently, a couple of things to note on this. This is the cafeteria at the elementary. That's new LED strip lighting. Very nice, and it's more of a natural daylight in there. There's a huge difference in the color temperature. So that's the cafeteria, and that was part of the energy levy exemption. We're also, by making it look nicer and brighter, healthier for the eyes, we're also saving money. We go from about 32 per unit, 32 watts down to 17. So just about half the consumption. Next, please. This slide will reflect the soundproofing in the cafeteria. If you've gone and had lunch in there, it's very noisy. These from 1965 are not doing the job that they were when they were installed. They've been painted over, and now they don't have any soundproofing absorption qualities. Next, please. This is what happens when you take them off. That's why we don't take off chalkboards over there, because they smear the glue on there, and literally you have to take a weed burner, heat that glue up to get it off. So we've got some painting to do in there now. We're going to replace those blocks with a full-size 4x8 fabric-wrapped, sand-colored acoustical panel, so it'll look nice. Next, please. This is gymnasium. We changed the lighting in there. And I believe I have another slide coming up. We went to LEDs in there, got rid of the strip lights, and maybe I guess I don't have another slide for the gym. Along the walls in there, we're going to put a product called Tectum in there, which is another soundproofing type board, white and red. A smidge of red. So, next please. This is kind of what it looks like, or at least a week and a half ago. Lockers removed, ceiling tiles removed, the grid was painted. That's a brand new LED fixture. They're really cool. You have to check them out. They look like a skylight. It's deceiving. Down the hallways at the elementary school, they were all surface mounted, so they stuck down 5 inches. Now, we wondered why anybody would ever do that. Well, the reason is there's so much ductwork in there, they could not hardly get the ceiling tile in there. Amazingly enough, those fixtures are actually not as thick as the actual grid they fit in. Beautiful product. It opened up those hallways. They look really big now. Next, please. This is what it looks like when it's gone. I just wanted to give you a last picture of that beautiful wood paneling that I don't care to ever see again. We're covering that up with acoustical fabric wrap panel that took months to come up with the right color coordinations, and I think we got it.
We have a really nice committee.
What are you saying, George?
I have a picture of this because this is now going to be a TV in there that the ladies in the office will be able to run different messages on there. And then either 1, 2, or 3 of the rock pattern there will surround this. And then the adjacent wall will also be that one of those colors. So this will be a TV display. Okay, thank you. This More of that beautiful stuff. We wanted to get rid of this chunk, but we can't. There's too many electrical items in there. So this will be fabric wrap panel. But above that door, we're going to duplicate as you come in. It's all glass right to the ceiling. I'm not really sure why they didn't do that in 65 or 7. Well, I guess because paneling was in, that's why. It's going to be glass now, and it'll be glass doors. It's really going to open up. We're hoping there's really a wow factor when you walk in over there. And the coffin's gone too. Like I only got a little piece of that down there, but that has now been removed. Next, please. There's a simple process right here. This happens to be about 24 inches thick here on the edge. And at least a minimum of 6 inches out in the center. Next, please. Yeah, tell these guys this was a simple project.
Well, I didn't take 7 weeks to come up with a color,
Yeah.
so.
So they jackhammered this up and wheelbarrowed it down the hall. And the next slide shows. Well, this is the other simple process. About 25 feet of wall was taken out, and they put a header up there, a bond beam, and this is going to be glass, and it's going to duplicate the other side of the library, so it's really going to look nice, and it's going to look like it was meant to be there. And it is a great idea. Mm-hmm. And then over here on the other wall where the media center person sits, she'll be able to view in there too.
Part of the issue
From the other side.
Yeah, from the other side too. Part of the problem with this room was that first of all it wasn't usable, but then when we did have kids in there, you couldn't tell what they were doing because it was completely enclosed. So, and if they were like presenting something and they were making some noise, you could close the doors, but now you can completely see exactly what's happening, and it was creating way too many problems. And I don't know why they didn't put this wall in that matched the one right across the way. It looks like it was always there, or will.
Yep.
Middle schoolers not being able to see them unsupervised.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. And my thunder was stole on the whole bleacher thing earlier, but I got a couple of slides in there. This one was supposed to be moved up, but here's the floor being repoured. We're in the wrong, but that's okay.
We got the idea.
Bleachers unpacked here, and then there should actually, I didn't realize I had that one in there, but that's okay. And then there should be just a couple pictures, one open and one closed to the bleachers.
Did somebody come in and install it, or did you guys do all this?
No, 8 days. It took them to come in and tear the old ones out, and we thank Amery Auto Salvage. They brought in giant dumpsters and paid us for some scrap, which was really nice, and they were there timely. And the foreman on this job was from Georgia, so he didn't have anything else to do but put his time in so he could get home. So it worked out pretty well. I'm really happy with it. Any questions for me? Cool. Thank you.
Good job, George.
Thanks, George.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, next is the AGR reports for 17-18 year end by Mrs. Meyer.
She's going to tell us.
Yeah, I know.
So AGR stands for Achievement Gap Reduction. Long ago it was SAGE, and the whole premise behind it was to have small teacher-student class ratios. So the rules have changed a little bit on it, but one of the things we need to do annually, actually twice a year, is to give you a report as to how our students are doing. So we have a lovely short and sweet PowerPoint to show you. The goal, basically the goal at the elementary school this year for kindergarten, first and second grade, in reading and math, those are the two areas we need to report on, is we focus on having 80% of our children above average, above the 80th percentile. Ms. Schock is going to report on third grade, which is also included in AGR. So this is a lot of writing. What you need to focus on is this far right column here. But for the first one, I'm just going to explain. We have the fall information, the winter information, and then the spring information. And then we have to send this into the DPI. So you can see in kindergarten, the first one here shows kindergarten. And basically, the spring benchmark in reading shows that 87.8% of our children met the 80th percentile, which is 94 students in reading. And in math, we had 93.4% meet the 80th percentile, and 100 students. Our kindergarten class is was one of our larger class sizes coming through, but I can tell you our 4K is easing up, is catching up on that, the current upcoming 4K. The next slide shows first grade, and I've talked to you about first grade before in the past. First grade is when we put skills together with comprehension and reading fluency. So these numbers don't look as good, but I don't panic. We work really hard at intervening where needed, but you can see in reading, we had 60.8% of our students meet the benchmark. Our goal is 80%. And in the in math, we did very well, 86.3%, 88 students. To go along with that, however, I want to share with you last year at this time, our first graders, there were 63% that met the goal. This year, there's 60.8%. But in second grade, it kind of it's where they start catching up. It's where they start putting it all together. And the research shows by third grade is when you want to see your kids at the percentage that's where kids should know how to read. That's where their strength needs to come together, where it all comes together. So anyway, in second grade, 81.8% of our students met the goal. So last year, in first grade, 63% of them met the goal. So you can see they're starting to catch up already. And in math, they had 88.9% meet the goal. So overall, very, very successful. It is, you know, I'm reporting on our AIMS assessment, but we are constantly assessing our children. There's formative assessment and there's summative assessment. This is just a picture in time, but it is required by the state. So, any questions?
Cheryl, is there any penalties for the program if we're not meeting those levels, or it's just something that you have to report on?
We have to report. There's another form that I need to complete. It's called alternative accountability, and that's when I have to justify what our results are and give a description as to what we're doing to intervene and to help our students. So, good question. Thank you.
Okay, and I will catch you up on third grade. We set a goal several years ago that we're now going to change for next year. But third grade teachers had decided that they wanted 80% of our students to show a 0.5 or 5 months growth on the STAR reading. But we really have a lot more information now, which I added and showed you last winter. But I want just to, as far as the goal is concerned, in third grade reading, 86% of our students showed that 0.5 growth, and our goal was 80. But like Cheryl said, we do lots of assessment, not just one, so we do more than the STAR. But the thing you want to look at is we set a benchmark in the fall, and of course we want to reduce the number of students that are below the 25th percentile and increase the number of students that are above the 50th. And that's what you're seeing here. And we had really nice drop on below the 25th, and we had nice gain on above the 50th. So that's reading. And then math is the next slide. Same measurement. We have 88% of our students are gaining more, 0.5 months growth or more. And then once again, you want to see the drop in students that are going below the 25th and increase in your students that are above the 50th. Any questions? Thank you. They did well.
Okay, the next item is the legislative update.
Okay, just a brief legislative update. The legislature obviously is not in session at this time, but I'll report that there was an early June meeting on school funding, and then an article that followed up just last week from the Marquette University, and there was a statewide law poll, or rather a poll from Marquette University Law School that talked about the strong support for increased funding in public schools. And it had mentioned that of the 800 people registered voters surveyed, 59% say which the question asked was, which would you prefer, lowering property taxes or increasing spending on public schools? And the results of the poll said 59% say public schools, 35% say property taxes. That is down a little bit from March, when it was 63% said public schools. So across the state, stronger funding for schools is strongly supported by the voters, and just wanted to mention that, as there is a statewide study reviewing the school funding formula. Hopefully there's more to report as we're involved in this election year.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to action items now. The first item up for discussion is the deferred maintenance and security.
Okay, regarding deferred maintenance and security, Clint is here. He and I had met after our last meeting, and I just wanted to say that we're waiting for more information, looking for more information. A safety grant was submitted for $80,000, the full amount that the school district is eligible for. Some school districts around the state have been granted that funding. We have information that Clint researched and found out. We believe about $56 million of the $100 million that the legislature put in for safety grants was applied for. We're one of the school districts that applied, and we applied for our maximum for $80,000. There is primary funding and not secondary, what's it called, primary or advanced funding. We did not apply for any primary funding because it was limited only to shatterproof glass in main entrances and locks on interior doors that do not currently have locks. Since all of our interior doors in our district classrooms have locks, and we have a higher grade than just shatterproof glass, because with his great foresight, George, a few years ago when glass was replaced and upgrades were done through energy efficiency exemption, he put a higher level of shatterproof glass in, not just the film, but rather ceramic glass in all the school's main entrances. So therefore, we really don't qualify for that primary funding, but we do qualify for the advanced funding, and we put primarily security cameras and a new system in all of our buildings because we've got an antiquated 15-year-old video surveillance system currently in our district. The total amount, if I remember, was around $261,000 for cameras, surveillance system, and for a vast upgrade, and 132 cameras or something like that in the proposal. And if we get an $80,000 grant, if that safety grant is funded fully, like we anticipate and hope for, that would reduce the amount of the security surveillance cameras down to more palatable amount that we could fund over a couple of years and use referendum deferred maintenance and security funds for. So there's no, that's, I guess, an update. What we'll do is bring back to you next month a more specific breakdown of what that would be, and hopefully an answer also from the Department of Justice on our safety grant.
So we should know by our next meeting is July 16th whether we get the 80,000?
Well, we hope. They announced 20. They announced Beloit, a huge grant, and then they announced 20 schools. Then they announced another 20 schools. I haven't heard anything since.
So we apply for 80. Is it 80 or nothing, or can they say, well, maybe we'll give you 40?
So far, what I understand is schools have been granted the full amount of the grants that have been granted, but it's only a fraction of those that have been granted. And they say they want to move this quickly so schools can have this year to implement their safety purchases, and because we have to have them implemented during the upcoming school year. So we're just waiting to hear. I do want to commend also, especially Mr. Durfler, but our administrative team. Mr. Durfler took the lead on this safety grant, did a great deal of work on it, and we all worked together and submitted this 15-page grant. He solicited some staff to assist with it.
The due date was the 8th of June, and they said 30 days, so July 8th, I guess, by definition. We'll know more soon, maybe.
Yep.
So this matter is going to be tabled and rediscussed?
Yeah, I suggest we just,
July. Okay.
No action needs to be taken.
Okay. Mr. Durfler, change to the 18-19 school calendar.
Okay, here to ask your permission to make a small change to the calendar. Historically, the high school has had 4 conference dates, though we have adopted the academic career plan model, the ACP model, by state mandate and by choice. And the ACP model has us working with parents, working with kids, to make better decisions about their schedule. It's one thing to prepare them with the academics, it's another thing to point them in the right direction. We're simply looking for more time during the second to last week of February where they are picking their courses and actually signing up for classes that they want. And all we're asking to do is move the conference date from Monday, April 29th to Thursday, February 21st. The whole district meets on the 18th. It's that 1 to 8 version of conferences. The whole district, besides the high school, is meeting on the 21st. So if we made this change, the whole district would be meeting Monday and Thursday. And it would simply give us more minutes to meet with parents during that week so we can make better choices based on having a more lengthy conversation. Right now, we're limited to about 20 minutes per family. We're looking at moving towards 30 or 40 minutes so we can make better choices.
And the reason this was brought forward as action item by the board is state law requires the school board to approve school district calendars. You have the universal control to do that. It's not a negotiated item.
I'll make the motion to move the conference date from the April 29th to February 21st. Yes.
Okay. Second that. Any other discussion or questions? Anyone opposed? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I guess before we move on to employee handbooks, I think I rushed to the calendar. Does anyone have any questions for Jim regarding the deferred maintenance and security?
Well, we'll discuss it next month.
Okay, all right. I just didn't want to rush. Okay. So the employee handbooks is the next item. And I guess first of all, does the board want to take this as a whole, all 5, or to take them individually one by one to go through each one?
I think we should go through each one.
Well, the certified staff was never changed from before, so now you're going to change it.
There's some wording updates just to be exactly consistent, and there were just some words missing. So you could look at either one. They're exactly the same now.
I think one thing I noticed was just the Board of Education should be updated, or needs to be updated.
Right, on the
with
first
the people.
page.
Where's that?
Just looks like on the first page.
There's some
Yeah, on that block.
there's some changes to make who the administration
Yeah, in the
people
front,
are.
they
but
just
it doesn't-
list us.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
So that's
Right, it's an
includes the
update of-
lists on the Board of Education.
Who's on
Oh,
in the positions and staff. So for instance, Miss Wesley's retiring. Brad Baumgartner is the new Director of Special Ed. Director of Pupil Services. Becky Schmidt, her name is in there.
Does it refer at all to the ability for them to contact us via the website? I just was thinking that.
Website, you mean email?
Well, if they want, our names are on there, but there's no way for them to contact us unless they say, refer them to the website where our names and phone numbers are on. So they understand that.
Because the administration has the extensions, but we don't have our phone numbers in the
Right.
handbook.
Right.
So just saying, add
well, the emails are
email
No,
address.
it's just say Board of Education something / view district website for contact info.
Yeah.
Just that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was noticing with the proposed changes that it doesn't, so when it says upon receiving a written employee report of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation, we took out the district administrator and put the board, but I feel like that is at the top it says first you should report it to your supervisor, and then if it's about the supervisor, you can go to the district administrator, and if it's about the district administrator, you may go to the board. I feel like that it shouldn't be just the board, you know what I'm saying? There's like 3 different people that you're saying you need to report to, and then it says the board will decide whether to take appropriate action. It should really be, do you know what I mean? The supervisor, the district administrator, or the board will decide to take appropriate action, because
yeah, the
depending
wording
on who
may
you report
need
to.
to be tweaked. Becky and I had worked on the wording after we got the information on requests for changes from the board.
I don't know where they are. Is this, are you on your certified staff or are you on the support staff?
It's actually
I clicked on the,
They're the same.
yeah.
I clicked on the first one, certified,
Which page number?
13. Well, 13 on top of 14.
Yeah.
What rate? Can we see?
Oh, I see. Oh, that's the one
Do you see what I'm saying, though? It's kind of whoever you report to. And I don't know if it needs to be more specific that if you...
So maybe it should say the supervisor, comma, district administrator, or the board, the appropriate person.
Right. And is it listed somewhere that if you feel like you don't get a sufficient answer, or I don't know what the wording is, but do you know what I'm saying, then you may go to the next person, the next person in the chain of command? Is that...
Yeah, that's actually written in policy as part of the, and part of
Because if, for
harassment
example, your
discrimination
supervisor
policy.
does not take action and you want to press the matter, right, you may go to the next person.
Yeah. I guess we should review the board policy too, but I'm certain that that's part of board policy as part of the grievance procedure. That was required before handbooks were first written.
In the last line of that, upon receiving a written employee report of harassment, discrimination, the board will decide whether to take, I'd like to just put, will take appropriate steps to investigate the complaints, allegations.
Right, because I went to.
Yeah, you should. Did you find it there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so the board
Will.
said whether, or maybe the board should vote.
The board will take appropriate steps to investigate the complaints, allegations.
Yes, so any complaints or allegations should always be investigated.
Yep. Because if they went through the process of writing a
Yeah,
written
and it's
employee,
harassment, discrimination,
yes,
or retaliation.
then it's our obligation to investigate, not just try and decide whether we should or not. It should be just an automatic
It's an automatic
investigation. Yep.
So what do we need to do next? Do we need to continue to
Well, that was the only change, actually, wasn't it? Or did you want something changed up above, Aaron?
Well, I just think that upon receiving a written employee report of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation, the board is not going to be the only one to decide. If you report to your supervisor, the board's not deciding.
Right, and that
Could be others, not just the board.
Right, it
Yeah.
needs to be the person that you submitted your written complaint to that takes the, that takes that steps, that investigates. So I don't think it should be only one word there, or only one entity.
I'm looking at the flow of the sentences, though, and they kind of flow as to what level it is. So, if they have a complaint or a report to make, they do their immediate supervisor, then that supervisor should, not can, but should thoroughly investigate the complaint. And if the supervisor is the object of the complaint, then the district administrator should investigate the complaint. And then if the district administrator is the object of the complaint, then the board.
Right, but it doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that, so you want to clean that all up?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
All right.
Well, you want to make that a motion to clean that up and do that?
Sure. I mean, are we writing that out now and just?
I think what we'll do is we'll have this as an action item again next time with with more language that is
With these tweaks
clear
made.
and tweaks made to all of our agreement today, so we don't have this problem again next month.
And then when we actually vote on that and have that changed, so then what is the process of that being updated? Because when I was preparing for this meeting, the handbooks that are accessible electronically were never changed retro to that November meeting. It was never added to report to the board president. So it had just stayed the same in the handbook. So how does that get?
Where specifically?
On page 14 of the.
But I mean, where was it located? That you.
On the Amery School website. So the electronic copy. So, if you're looking at the Amery School website and you go into the handbooks, so those changes weren't updated at that time, or they weren't updated as of yet today when I looked. So what's the process? Like, does that get updated immediately when we vote on these, or?
It gets updated in the district office and then forwarded to our website, our website person.
And do they just make the changes in the handbook, or is there like an addendum that goes to it, or?
The changes would be made and updated and sent to be posted.
Okay.
But we'll have to look at it to see where it's posted even.
Okay, so I will make a motion to change this paragraph to say that, yes, to specify that whoever receives the complaint will take appropriate steps to investigate the complaint's allegations. And so if we want to repeat that after each person that could receive the complaint in writing, maybe that would be the easiest way to clarify it. So anyway.
I'll second.
Sure, where is it posted on the website? Because it's.
So you're not making a motion to approve.
I'm just making a motion to change the
Make the
wording.
changes,
And then change the
yeah.
wording to make it mandatory and also clarify.
And then what?
Yeah.
It was a little bit, so
Yeah.
it's not
Yep.
a run-on sentence.
Yeah.
And
so-
then we'll tweak it and we would look at it for approval next month, right?
All right, is it the same issue with support staff then? Is it the same change?
Yeah.
Same motion?
They should mirror,
Okay.
at least in that section.
Is the Amery SDK12 WIS and then staff/support, and then all of that? It's a PDF document that you pull up? Because we had it pulled up at the last board meeting, and we couldn't find where the change had been made.
Right.
That's why we stumbled on this, we couldn't find it.
Yep.
But I think that's why we couldn't find it. It wasn't made. And I went back to the November meeting just to find out where the action was taken. In that November meeting, it was clarified on page 14 of the support staff handbook. So when you go back to this page 14 of the support staff handbook, it still says,
Yeah, there's not a link to the handbook on the website that I'm aware of. There is for staff, so it must be an old document. There's no drop-down under staff that says support.
so we don't have those electronically available anymore on our website for staff? Or are they just given?
No, they're available for staff. They're available to all staff to log into.
Yeah, but you can't get into it, or?
No, we can access it, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it's not posted on the public website.
Right, but for the staff, what I'm saying.
For staff, yes.
I mean, it's their handbook, they're the ones that would have to.
Right, but you said it's not updated, so I don't know how you...
Did you try to log on but through a staff's email, or how did you try to access it as a matter person of the public?
I don't know, it's pulled up here, I'm looking at a handbook, I guess I'm not sure. I did a search and came up.
That wouldn't be the current one, because it's not online for good reason.
So is it changed?
But it is available.
Was it ever online? Ever accessible online?
I don't know if, when you ask ever, I don't know.
Because I can pull it up, I mean,
Yeah.
I have it, but.
Yep. And that may be because it was a document sent to you or to that computer.
Oh.
I can't explain.
Okay.
So did we need to vote on that?
So it may be a cookie in the computer, which is a memory of a document that was once sent.
We need to vote on that?
But is there any other?
Yeah.
All right, going back to the certified staff handbook, proposed change to the workplace protection paragraph. Is there any other discussion with regard to how we're going to revise it? Okay.
So the changes should be the same, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same with support staff, if you want to take that all together. Okay. So does your motion include support staff handbook too in those
Yes.
changes? Right.
I will make a motion that they will match the wording.
You can't make another motion.
I mean,
we haven't voted on the motions on the floor.
Okay, yes.
So you
I
can either amend it.
I'll amend my motion to include both the staff and support staff handbooks. But they would, as we said, specify that the person you complain to will take the action.
So I'll second the amendment then, so that if passed, the amendment would read that each handbook would then clarify the person would take action of whom it was reported.
Okay. Anyone opposed? All in favor say aye.
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 So the amendment passed.
That's the amendment.
So the amendment passed. Those two are taken together. Teacher compensation committee.
So now back to the motion.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
They amended the motion.
Okay.
So now I have to vote on the motion.
Vote on the motion.
Okay, now as for the original motion, is anyone opposed?
What's the amended motion? So it would be you're voting on the amended motion, not the original motion. So we'd have to vote on the amended motion, which now reads to include
the support staff handbook. Okay, is anyone opposed to the amended motion? Okay, all in favor say aye to the amended motion. Aye. Teacher compensation committee. Is that you?
Okay.
And Jessica?
Yeah, I guess we'll start with presenting that there was a teacher compensation committee we started talking about a year ago, and then this fall we had some conversation, sent out a request for staff who were interested, teachers interested in reviewing the teacher compensation. It really started with the compensation committee of the board over a year ago with conversations about the teacher compensation, alternative teacher compensation plan that was implemented in 2014. We went through a 3-year cycle and then the 4th year, so now we're going into the end of the fourth year, the end of the fourth year of the implementation since Act 10. So we had representatives from each of the buildings and a good cross-section of staff from the buildings. Some of them are here. And we started to meet. We had, basically my number one goal in mind was to put together a teacher compensation plan that would help to hire and retain the best staff we could in Amery, and to fairly and competitively offer compensation for them. So if we scroll up a little bit, we have some goals of the committee we had talked about. First, we reviewed the history. We talked about creating new revised salary schedule for next year, the 18-19 school year, that would include the following, that would tie the professional development to compensation, and the reasoning is that new Wisconsin licensing laws no longer require professional development. There's no longer 6 credits every 5 years required. The legislature removed that requirement, and we believe in the district that professional development is essential to ensuring highly qualified staff. Other goals include moving the salary schedule forward to increase the entry level. One of my aims was to get into the $40,000 range for starting teachers. Currently, we're at $38,000 for the past 4 years, and other conference schools and schools in our CISA are at or above the $40,000 level. To decrease the number of years it takes to get to the top, because from the old system prior to 2014, a teacher could reach the top end in 14 years, or 15 years rather, and the new alternative salary schedule, in order to help sustain the district financially, was took 25 years for a new teacher to move from level A1, 2, and 3, B1, 2, and 3, all the way to level I would take 25 years. And we wanted to have sort of a happy medium, so we wanted to decrease the number of years and also extend the salary schedule beyond the I level, which was currently $68,000 at the top end. So as we met February, March, April, May, we had, and then June again, from the committee minutes, we talked about the reasons for change. We obviously have to develop a schedule that would be financially sustainable for the district. And one of the goals that we said is, again, due to the, which just happened last winter and spring, again, the legislature removed the licensing requirements. Now licenses in Wisconsin for teaching are all becoming lifetime licenses with no professional development required. So we believe as a committee that continuing education was essential. Another goal we talked about was to reduce the number. I guess this is a little repetitive, but I came up with a way in developing this that the first 5 levels that take 15 years for a teacher to move through would take 10 years, and we did some cost projections, also estimating based on the age of our staff and projected retirements, would this be financially sustainable? And after working through some crunching numbers quite a few times, different scenarios, those who can retire at the earliest, at age 56 with full benefits from the district, or those that would maybe stay longer, and we have some that stay well into or beyond their mid-60s occasionally. So we looked at different cost projections. And then another goal was to get rid of the catch-up pay. The catch-up pay was when there was a migration from the old salary schedule matrix to the alternative compensation, and the catch-up pay had to do with placement at the certain levels. And there was catch-up pay which then would drop off when a teacher would move to the next level. And also there's supplemental pay and I-points pay. Much of this would be taken care of or removed with the new salary schedule proposal. The goal was also to continue beyond 18-19 to move the bottom the bottom/entry level of the salary schedule up to be more competitive with other districts in our conference and CISA. So we put together, I guess I'll ask, since there's a couple members of the committee, I see at least 3 back here. If there's anything else you would want to add or comments regarding our process, there was a lot of input, feedback from the administrative team over the past half a year to a year, and especially that compensation committee. We still have some things to work out. We looked at other districts and how they do it. The Skyward module that's used for keeping track of professional development hours, and it'll be more specific when I show you the actual compensation plan. Jessica, Danielle, Pat, any comments?
My only comment was I can probably speak on behalf of the committee, and Brian was on it too. The teachers had a lot of input in this and are very much in favor of some of these suggested changes. It's something that we hope can be implemented.
Okay, so we'll go to the next document, the salary schedule or proposed certified salary schedule. So board members have in front of you, so not to confuse it with 2 different documents, but you have the current compensation schedule on paper. And so just as a comparison, if you look at that, we've got level A through I currently, and as you can see, it takes 25 years to move through the schedule. The first thing I want to point out is that on the current 17-18 salary schedule and on the new one, the first sentence of it says the board will determine the salary schedule and the availability of level/cell movement for employees based on financial needs of the district. So the school district of Amery has around a $7 million annual cost for teacher compensation. It's the largest single item in the budget, and so we have to, without having a crystal ball, we can't know exactly what that will be. We can't know who will leave in August, who will get hired, what positions, what things may happen during the school year. But we can do a projection. We don't know when people will retire or leave the district, but again, we can make some pretty good financial calculations. So currently, when teachers get to level 3, they move to the next level in each level, and then at level F, a teacher must have a master's degree to progress beyond that. And so they're froze at level F until they get their master's degree, or if they've earned it. And there is a $2,000 annual stipend for a master's degree, and then also levels G, H, and I that they can progress to. So again, there's a cap at $68,000. However, there's catch-up pay and supplemental pay that's added to that. And a number of teachers that were at the top end in this migration from the old salary matrix did receive about $2,500 or so, so the top salaries were in the $71,000 range. Now, in this migration, which would be following a year of professional development, so if the board accepts this, there's really not any big changes for next year on placement. In fact, contracts would be the same for next year, meaning 18-19. It would be at the conclusion of 2018-19 that those staff members that meet the professional development hours of 90, well, it would be 90, 60, 30 in the implementation. For those that want to move more rapidly through the schedule in 2 years and get 90 credits, they would be able to move a level after 2 years, and they could start gaining that in September, work 2 years, and then jump forward. So just starting from the top, A1, new teachers, entry-level teachers, would move to A2 automatically, so they would have a $1,000 increase after a first year, successful year of teaching. So another caveat is that any year a teacher is placed on an improvement plan, they're froze at that level, they don't move. And in A2 and 3, you can see that would be the $41,000 level. And after, in order to move to the next level, to be a teacher would have to earn the 90 hours and would have 3 years in each of the different lettered levels to move forward. But if they do it in 2 years, in the first 5 levels, A through E, instead of in the 3 years, they could then jump forward to the next level, which would be a nice financial gain. But there's also that 90-hour requirement, which, as an equivalent, we use 6 credits, 6 graduate credits, or 15 hours per credit. So 15 hours per credit would be 1 3-credit class in a year, would equal 45. Another 3-credit class would be another 45. That teacher would meet the 90-hour requirement. Now, currently we have a PDU system. Professional development units are allowed, and for every 20 hours of PDUs that a teacher earns, we also extended that to support staff this past year, they receive 1 8-hour personal day in addition to the 2 that they already have. So with this system, we would work it cooperatively and coordinate the hours. A teacher would have the ability to do either technology problems here. I guess if it's not, the mouse isn't moved every so often, it goes off. So again, it would be the teacher's choice when they receive professional development to apply the minutes, the hours, to PDUs or to this professional development plan. And again, the implementation, there would be a 30, 60, or 90-hour requirement for the first 2 years of it. So those on level 3, in order to move forward, would have to attain 30 hours of professional development. Those with that want to do it within 2 years would get 60 hours, and those for those on level 2, I should say, and those on level 1 would need to get the 90 hours in order to move forward to the next level. Now, I know this is listed as an action item, but I'm presenting it to the board for the first time. This is the board's first look at it, so I'm asking the board to look at it, to look at the FAQ. We've got a couple pages of frequently asked questions and how we'll implement this. And so I'd like the board to review it, digest it, consider it, and I'd like to come back hopefully with more answers next month as well. As you can see, the F level, for those that do not have their master's degree, they've been froze for 4 years. They've been at that level plus whatever supplemental amount, which is an annual decision, has been given by the board. So that $55,000 level, this allows a teacher that does not have a master's degree to progress annually by attaining the 30 hours of professional development or 2 graduate credits. And there's a $500 increase per year for that professional development attainment. Now that's much less than the $3,400, $4,000, and $5,000 increase to move beyond those levels. So it really highly encourages staff to get their master's degree and to continue professional development. Another thing I'll mention is that double hours are provided for those staff, and we think we've got many staff that are excellent educators that others can learn from. So it encourages them to present information, and if they're a presenter for the preparation they do and the presentation for the initial teacher workshop, that is double points, and then if there's another workshop, it's an equal amount of points that's done. So it really promotes our teachers teaching our teachers. I guess if we scroll down through, there is a higher level that teachers can attain. It still has much of the same information. New employees hired at A1 will all automatically advance to A2. There's still that stipend of $2,000 for master's degree, $1,000 for national board certification annually, $1,000 for certification for counselor school psych, and the other areas noted there. Some of the language that's being taken out of the document, there's a payment that was phased out for teachers retiring from the district that formerly was $10,000. It was $8,000 and then $6,000 and $4,000 last year, and this year for retirement, that's $2,000. So that's been phased out, and that language has been removed now since it's been phased out as part of the compensation plan. The I points would no longer be applicable. Teachers can currently do the I points. This new compensation plan accounts for that. And instead of I points, it's promoting 30 hours of professional development per year. Why don't we scroll forward? And the rest of the information is basically similar. So this, again, is part of what I call the compensation and benefits manual. It's not part of the handbook. It's separate from the handbook. It's non-negotiable and not something that needs to be updated all the time. I guess I would go to the FAQ now, the frequently asked questions document, and we can show answers to many of the questions that we have or had. Again, I'll mention too, there is still work to be done to get this ready for implementation. It states where educators will be placed on the salary schedule, how they advance between the different levels, how they can accelerate their movement. So in essence, a new teacher hired in the district that currently takes 15 years to get to level F, A, B, C, D, E, and then F, they can move through those 5 levels in 10 years at a maximum of 2 per year. And so to help make this financially sustainable as well, committee members and I had talked about how can we be careful to not overextend ourselves financially as a district. Well, you can have that accelerated movement in the first 5 levels through or up to level F, but then it'll take 3 years. You can't accelerate in levels F, G, and H. It will take everyone 3 years to move through levels F, G, and H, and to get to I, then that's 10 years. So the fastest a person can move, a teacher can move through the first 5 levels would be 10 years. If they take longer to get the 90 hours of professional development, that carries over. And it could still take up to 15 years or longer if they don't get the 90 hours. But I suspect that teachers will work to get those hours, and since it's tied to compensation, it's in their interest financially. So it may take 10 years to get through the first 5 levels, and then to get through F, G, H, and then to the I level, it would be another 10 years. So 20 years again, instead of 25 years to get to that I level. And then a teacher may progress at $1,000 per level in the I level, I1, 2, 3, all the way up to the top end level of $75,000. Why $75,000? Well, as I've researched it and looked around the state, I've looked at a lot of different districts around the state, districts that have salary schedules, interviewing them and looking at their salary schedules, that's about where they seem to top out. And
do we have the numbers where we rank in CISA 11 and also in the middle border?
Yeah, it changes every year, so I'd have to research that again. But the problem in getting that number is when they report, we can get the starting and we can get the top end, but then all that stuff in between changes. Yeah. We can get the median, the mean. The most common is the median. The average is the mean, and I can get those numbers. But I would still say we're.
So it's maybe a little hard to measure from that.
It is hard to measure from that.
It gives us an idea, right? That it gets us in the ballpark of being, in the top 3 or ranking 3 to 6.
What I can tell you is Amery has dropped from where we were 5 years ago. Amery has dropped in the ranking as one of the higher paid districts in the CISA.
Right.
And there are districts even in our conference that starting out that are higher than us. That I know from my research. But I can research and get more information to report back.
would the dropping though be because we had a number of teachers retiring, so they're not making that
No,
drop
the drop is in the salary schedule, so not to do anything with retiring, although the mean would change of where our mean or average salary is. We've had a number of retirements, but there's a lot more coming, which is part of what that makes this affordable. And it's affordable, I will say, for now. We can't know. There's no way to look in a crystal ball and know exactly who will retire, who will leave the district. And then if we hire someone at a more beginning level, that all helps the district, but there's no way to know exactly what the future holds.
Does this penalize those teachers who can't get their masters or who are not in pursuit of their masters or who have been hired on as a teacher later in life and then not enough time?
I'd like to reframe the question. What I would say is it encourages teachers to work toward their masters, which...
Is that feasible though for everybody if you've started teaching later in life? Let's say we had a teacher come into the district or several teachers come into the district at 40-some years old and can't.
Yeah, what this schedule does is it does give a compensation. What?
I think Jessica has a comment.
I was just going to say, this is actually better than what we currently have, because what we currently have is at level, you have it in front of you and I do not. You stop at a certain level, level F, and you don't go any further with the masters. And then our scale, without masters, and our scale before that, the 2013-14, was the same exact way. If you didn't have your masters, you stacked at bachelor's plus 20 or something credits. And so this is actually a little bit more helping those individuals. They are at least getting a $500 increase for 10 years if they're doing the professional development. Where what we currently have right now, they get nothing. They're frozen.
How much would professional development cost them?
They can't even. There's many ways to accumulate hours for free.
And does the school district reimburse? I know years ago they used to, but I don't know if that is still.
Not anymore. Only for reading, for classes toward a reading specialist degree.
And like our graduate credits that I had for licensing renewal, never. But that's the individual's responsibility.
Oh, and those credits have gone up tremendously.
I know. That's why I was
$1,000 a credit.
And I think that's why we
not uncommon.
are suggesting the 90 hours of professional development, because there's a number of ways to get that free.
Okay.
Including within the district.
Right. Right.
I think this plan is promoting the right thing, especially since the state has zero requirements. The district could be on the forefront, and other districts around the state, and even in our conference, are talking about implementing something. This is here in front of you in black and white, and I think it's the right thing to do. So.
And how are those classes, or it says that everything has to be submitted for pre-approval to be able to qualify?
Yeah, we're in the process of working that process out exactly. There are some other districts that use a module in Skyward. We checked, and actually Clint checked for us, and we have that module. We actually have it. It's not set up. We need to set up the organizational chart, so teacher from this building or from the high school or middle school or elementary, they have to submit it. It goes through an approval process, so it can be done electronically. It will be more time consuming, but we think that we have staff that can figure it out, and we'll do it.
I mean, as far as, I get that process is a working process, but as far as the classes that are going to be accepted as far as professional development, is there have to be a synopsis given of what those classes, that content is, or?
Yep, there's an approval process with either a course outline description. We want to make it pretty very user-friendly. So we want it to be not difficult to do, but we want some accountability tied to it.
There's, I don't know if I can say it, there's currently a process right now for that too. So if a staff member wanted to, from prior years wanted to take a class or enroll into a master's program, that would have to go through an approval process so that it relates to the field that they're working with. But, so.
So you can look through the documents. I encourage you to review the document, the professional development, the FAQ, questions and answers. And again, although it's listed as an action item, it was more for presentation today.
So the next three, teacher compensation committee, salary schedule, frequently asked questions, and proposed certified salary schedule are all going to be tabled until next week, so we can have a chance to digest that information and
Yes,
work in progress.
And I didn't show yet, but I'd like to bring up the support staff wage increase proposal, and that is something the board could act on if you so choose. We're essentially looking at a 3% increase across the board for positions of paraeducator, food service, custodian, secretary, not clubhouse because that was recently updated, and but also mechanic and computer technician and not van driver because those current wages are very competitive with all those areas. And then the level 1 and sub-entry level are all the same, but all the other areas aside from those two I mentioned, would be about a 3% minimum increase over our current rates.
So the first 4 columns are 3%?
1, 2, 3, 4, yes.
And then the rest have already been recently increased or are competitive, and you're not asking for, or they won't?
Well, mechanic and computer tech would also include a 3% increase. Yep. And I'll mention that the CPIU, which has often been used for calculations, for this past year is 3.14. It's been, since Act 10, it's been 3.17, 3.0, 2 I think it was under 0.1 a couple years ago, but it's up to 2.13 now. So that's essentially the cost of living. The CPIU, Computer Price Index Urban, which is what has been traditionally used for salary and wage increases in Wisconsin in the past.
So these people will be affected July 1st?
Well, these would be affected July 1st, but on their anniversary date is when they actually receive that increase.
For like level 2 and 3.
Yeah, but no, my question is that they would be moved the 3% immediately July 1st. Wherever level they are at.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Because if we approve it, then July 1st, the fiscal year.
Well, I would ask that it would be effective July 1st, and our bookkeeper calculates that. She told me that it is on their anniversary date that we move them, so.
On their anniversary date, they would move from, say, a level 2 to a level 3.
Right.
But their
But the
pay
3% is already
Well,
built
they
in.
move on their anniversary date?
Yeah,
or
that's
on-
what I'm confused.
Yeah, because
Does that include
So
the
there is a
3%?
move July
well,
1.
that's what he said. I wish he'd have had a comparable there for us.
So the new level is,
Because-
so,
But
okay, gotcha. So the answer is yes.
right, that's what I
July
thought.
1, yeah. So I would ask
July
that the
1,
board
everybody's going to
implement
get a
this
3% increase.
July 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Just
has
about
that been
everybody.
figures with anything other than the 3% or just 3% or have we looked at what it would like a 5% or a 6%?
Well, we looked at 5%, 3.5%, 3%, and this is what we believe is will fit into our budget next year.
What's the cost increase dollar-wise?
I actually did a calculation today of that. Give me a minute. Do you remember, Paulette? I anticipated that question. We did. Well, it's different for each group, and I have it on my desk. I don't have it right here, but I can definitely share that, or if you want me to go get it.
It'd be nice to have a little more information. It'd be nice to have comparables from what they were and 3%, although, you know, you can calculate that, but that grid would be nice to have had here. And we can always take and deal with this next month and then retro to July 1st. Does that work, Paulette? Not well.
No.
They sure don't go up much between level 4 and longevity
Well,
A and longevity B.
support staff is 150 people, roughly, something like that. So, yeah, it'll,
Right.
there's going to be a cost.
Right,
So that's
right.
all. You know, I just like to have the information. I'm not opposed to it at all. I just like to see what the numbers are.
Let me see.
It'll take me 30 seconds to grab it if you want.
Sure. It's just interesting.
Does anybody have office music on their phone? Wait, right now.
Or any.
Come on, don't do this to me.
Time out music like on Common Man.
Yeah.
Time for more donuts. Donuts.
There you go. Hey, Clint, could you give me a bottle of water, please?
You still got the donuts.
An intermission, I kind of like this. We should maybe
Take a short recess.
do this more often.
I know.
Clint, the computer man, with all the hot tips.
10 years you go a dime, you know?
I've had to do it several times.
You
It
said
works
there was
perfect.
1 year or after 2 years. You know, per hour. I know. It's almost like, but I mean, I'm not the one who created it. I'm sure they probably have reasons and ideas. But I got each man, I'd rather reward you after 10 years than after you've been.
I don't know. Brian, is the camera still on? Yep. Okay.
So here's the dollar amount for each employee group. 190,000. Do some adding for me.
For Clubhouse, what is class completion? Should we know it?
For their, like their CPR, you know, their
32,000.
child care stuff. Yeah.
Would you like another one?
Oh, well, they
Definitely
You've got to
should. Take two.
Yeah.
They're small. They're in there.
They're small.
You might want to try another kind.
Yeah, holy donuts, those are good.
Okay.
So 641,000.
Butterfinger.
Does it taste like a Butterfinger? Is there another one of those? I'm gonna see if it's under 8.
This is 2,000.
I thought I'm glad I brought my sweater. I'm chilly.
Okay, so what's 1.45 times? Okay, so our projected cost is $43,740
And that's
for these increases.
for the whole year?
For the whole year, for all of those employee groups that were mentioned.
And it's, I mean, to me, that's
And then
very reasonable, very fair. And it's easier to do that tonight rather than going back.
It's a lot easier for bookkeeping.
What I'm hearing.
Not that it can't be done.
And I'm not even a bookkeeper.
Yeah. So I'm not opposed to approving this portion of it tonight. So I will make the motion to approve it with these new proposed wage dollar amounts.
To approve the support staff. Wage increase.
Yes.
I'd second that.
Is there any discussion? Anyone opposed? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. The proposed wage increase for support staff is increased to 3% as indicated in the chart. All right, now we're to the 2018-19 working budget.
Okay, this is a motion that the district has traditionally had on the agenda. State statute permits for every school district to continue to operate, even though we cannot set our budget until we have revenue limit worksheet numbers, including third Friday count in September, October 1st and October 15th, equalized value, and finalized aid numbers. However, we've just traditionally done a working budget motion, so we would ask for a motion for the school district to continue to pay bills and payroll into the fiscal year, which starts July 1st.
Move for the school district to continue operating under that budget, to continue to pay bills until the new budget is not approved.
I second that.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the working budget motion carries. Linen and floor mat service contract.
Okay, we did a FAQ, we did an RFP, a request for proposals, or RFQ. They're often called request for quote. A couple months back, George and I met with, we currently use HIPSH, that's HUEBSCH, that does our linen cleaning and floor mat cleaning. They pick up weekly, especially during the school year, and take care of that. And since this was a $46,000 annual operating budget number, I wanted to have comparables, and they requested a 5-year contract. So since it's a long-term contract, there has been nothing done for the past few years. We did receive quotes and met with our current supplier. We wanted to negotiate a little bit better price, and we were able to do that because they wanted to lock in. So we got them to lock in for 5 years at their current rate every year. And I think it was well worth it, because otherwise typically there's an annual increase of a certain percentage. So George is best negotiator that I know. He does a great job with many companies and businesses. So we met together and got a great price and got them to lock in for 5 years. So I recommend, even though I could approve this, it's an annual expenditure, it's a 5-year commitment, I'd ask for a motion from the board.
A couple of items on that. What sealed it for us was HIPSH is the only company that actually will bill us usage. So meaning if we use one towel, we get billed for one towel. They actually count everything. The other two companies will not do that. It's all on inventory, so they just guesstimate. So in the summertime when we don't use very much, they actually count it. The other thing that was kind of big with HIPSH was they have matting that is a lot bigger, at 2 feet at least wider than Airmark and Cintas. So in the high school, we have a number of these big rugs that are 6 feet wide. So instead of adding another rug to compensate for the distance, basically we're adding another trip hazard. So they supply something that is of great need for us, and they charge us for what we use. And in the end, I think they were a little bit higher per item, but in the end, they come out more reasonable. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I make a motion then to go with HIPSH as our floor mat and linen service contract.
Second. Any other discussion or questions? Anyone opposed? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve HIPSH as our linen and floor mat service contract carries. District insurance.
Okay, this is for liability, workers' comp insurance, and for our buildings and vehicles. And we have an add-on that I have showing you here, a letter which we received today from Jim Leadholm. We were working on getting the number of volunteers, and this is an add-on policy that will only cost the district $350 more for for insurance, but this is a large quote, and every other year we go out for quotes, and we did have another company provide a quote. Lead Home Insurance provided the best price, and the district has been with them for years. My recommendation is that the district, that the board approve Lead Home Insurance for their policies. For it's many different companies. It's EMC Insurance for work comp, and it's various policies that they work with.
So we're just voting on?
Nope, this is just the new add-on. Everything else is the same.
What are the dollar amounts there?
Well, we don't show that because there were quotes that were put in by different companies, so but we can.
So you have to see in the closed session?
It's a couple $100,000 during the school year for the insurance.
What is the volunteer addition cover? Like, why are?
Oh, okay. Well, it's we actually had an issue with a volunteer not being covered, that we ended up finding out that he was not a volunteer. He was paid through compensation given to him through season pass and apparel. But in the meantime, we discovered that we have many, many volunteers that are not covered. So we had researched.
So this is for an accident if that happens while they're volunteering?
Yes, it's
on
for
the property.
Well, for all these items mentioned, accidental, medical, dismemberment, death, etc., that are all listed here.
So what does the number 120 mean? Does that mean it covers up to 120?
It's just an estimate of number of volunteers for the school district for the year. So we have volunteer coaches, we have volunteer teachers and aides and people in every one of the buildings. So this was the best guesstimate that we could get. They don't come and check number of volunteers you have. And then we've got some volunteer coaches that are also volunteer classroom aides or for other things.
I think $350 to cover any volunteer injury is pretty reasonable for a year. I would think it'd be more.
But the motion isn't just for that.
Yeah, this is the only new one, and we didn't put up, this is done the same as last year, Keith. Any new policy is put up there, or last time that we did it.
So we're not renewing the policy?
We are renewing the policy. I'm asking the board for accepting Lead Home Insurance for to be the insurance carrier and for this additional policy to be approved.
And Lead Home had the best.
Lead Home had the better price for the coverage, and in fact, better coverage for the amount covered in vehicles.
We've used them for a number of years with very competitive pricing, probably the best pricing, right, in addition to additional coverage, or better coverage.
That is correct, yep.
So I make a motion that we go with Lead Home Insurance for this next year.
I will second that.
Any other discussion? Anyone opposed? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I think we are at the end of the action items, so now I'll make a motion to go into closed session to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility in order to take personnel action pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85 sub 1 sub C. Second. Anyone opposed? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're now in closed session.